Welcome everybody on this very special day. It's a special day for us at least, I hope for you too. I don't think we've ever had this many people at the Goethe-Institut, at least not in the last few years. This is amazing. So thanks for coming. Welcome everybody. My name is Andreas Ströhl. I'm the director of the Institute. I would like to thank you for coming, and I would welcome His Excellency the German Ambassador Andreas Peschke, who will just speak in a moment. We have 4,000 RSVPs. We think there must be around 4,000 people here over the course of the day. Hopefully not all at one, because I think we have 2 toilets or something. But over the course of the day, we managed that somehow, and I think I'm very impressed with this enormous amount of interest. There are so many people of different walks of life here, and they're all interested in this career expo in German as a foreign language, German as a step in their own careers, German as something that may be important for them as employers. You hear a lot about that in a few moments. I just want to thank you for your trust, spending your Saturday here with us. And I would like to thank most of all Amanda de Beer, who sits right here, who's prepared everything in the green jacket. You will see her later. But also our entire team. If you have any questions, ask anybody who's wearing a green jersey. They're all our team, and everybody works today. So this is basically what I had to say, what I wanted to say, and I'll pass the microphone on directly to the Ambassador Andreas Peschke.
Ja, vielen Dank, lieber Andreas Ströhl. Sehr verehrte Damen und Herren, liebe Panelistinnen und Panelisten, dear panelists, dear representatives of the departments of basic education and higher education, Madoda, Namakosikazi, Sanibonani, Sanibonani, Ninjani. Aha. So welcome to this Career Expo. As we say in German, herzlich willkommen. Namukelekile kakulu. Let me start off the discussion about why it may be useful to learn German with some thoughts of my own. Of course, in South Africa, a country with 11 official languages, in fact 12 now, among them English as a global language, you may ask, why learn German? Kungani ukufunda isijalimana. Why another language when you already speak isiZulu, isiXhosa, Sesotho, Afrikaans, or English? Isn't English enough to conduct business everywhere in today's globalized world? Well, when I came here, I thought about it, and first of all, of course, I would say learning German is worth it because it's a very beautiful language. Ngicabanga ukuthi isijalimane vulimi onabo bushle kakulu. It's a very beautiful language. So we have wonderful poets, we have wonderful music and great philosophers like Goethe, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, our national poet, actually the guy after who this institute has been named, like Karl Marx, our big philosopher who created socialist theory, or like Asfa Aserate, a German author of Ethiopian descent, whose book Manieren was awarded a very important literature prize in Germany. So there are a lot of reasons because German is a nice language, but probably there are also more practical reasons why studying German may be useful. One reason is, of course, that we have over 600 German companies represented here in South Africa, which are employing around 100,000 people. And of course, in these companies, German language is a very useful tool of communication. We have BMW in Rosslyn, we have Mercedes-Benz in East London, we have Volkswagen in Carrieja, we have Siemens, we have many more, Bosch here in Joburg. And actually being able to speak German can ease communication and avoid misunderstandings. So that's number one. Number two, Germany is also a big trading partner of South Africa, actually the biggest trading partner of South Africa in the European Union. And if you are working for a company that has foreign business relationships, I think it is very likely that you will meet German companies as partners. And being able to speak German will make it easier to establish good working relationships with your business partners. Another reason, I think, is that South Africa's third largest tourism market in the world, in fact, is Germany. Every year, hundreds of thousands of tourists from Germany come to South Africa. In fact, abasa jelimane, batanda kakulu, iningizimu Afriku. Germans love South Africa. And so German is of relevance for the hospitality industry. So if you want to make a German tourist happy, what do? I think you would greet him in German. So, uma ufuna, izi vakashi zetu za sijalimano, sijabulele, uzo zi bingelela, gesijalimana. Maybe in Zulu as well, but in Germany it would work even better. So catering to this sizable group of tourists from Germany helps getting ahead of the competition. There's also a great number of German institutions in South Africa, of course, this wonderful institute, the Goethe-Institut here in Johannesburg, but we also have the wonderful German schools in South Africa, like the one in Johannesburg, the one in Cape Town, the one in Pretoria, with 1,000 students each. We have one in Hermannsburg as well, Zola. In fact, the first German school in South Africa, in Hermannsburg. We have our GIZ in Esipitoli with over 300 experts in South Africa. So we have a lot of institutions, and I think working for these institutions, cooperating with these institutions can be also very, very beneficial. We have these German companies, so be it German companies, South African companies with German trading partners, companies in the tourism sector, or German institutions, for all of them, speaking German may be beneficial. Apart from that, I think you would know that Germany is also the largest economy in the European Union. In fact, it is the biggest mother tongue within the European Union. So if you take Germany, Austria, and Switzerland together, we have over 100 million native speakers of German. And there is also, of course, job opportunities in this market. In fact, all three of these countries I've mentioned, most of all Germany, are in need of skilled workers and professionals. In fact, our chancellor said in the next few years, in Germany alone, we may need more than 6 million people, new people in the labor market to fill vacancies. So these are a lot of opportunities in Gamatuba, Amaningi, Gempela. And if you're looking at these opportunities, I think German may be helpful as well. There are also great universities in Germany and institutions of applied learning that may give you an edge in the job market as well. And just to give you an example, I've just met two vice chancellors of South African universities, and they are actually alumni. They have studied at German universities, and they speak German. So when I met them, actually, so we spoke German. And I think this knowledge, this experience, this exposure to German language, German academic tradition also has taken them very far. So I think, and I hope you agree, there are tangible benefits of learning German. And I hope our panelists will go deep into the discussion in a moment. I'm glad that we have this Career Expo here at the Goethe-Institut in Johannesburg. In fact, it's quite impressive to see so many people here who are interested in this Career Expo. And I think I would like to say thank you very much to Amanda, to Andreas Ströhl, to the entire Goethe-Institut for putting this Career Expo together. I think they deserve a big round of applause. Thank you very much. And one final point, actually don't be afraid. Musa ukwesaba. In fact, German is a very easy language. Isi jalimano si lula. Even mina, bengi fundile, isikati ngaba umtwana. Even I learned it when I was a child, so it can be that difficult. And on this lighter note, I'm very looking forward very much to our panel discussion. Thank you very much. Ngiyabonga.
Okay, well, thank you very much. My name is Samia Chasi. I'm the moderator of today's discussion, and it's an absolute delight and a pleasure to be here. And I would like to tell you a little bit more about what we're going to do and how before we start talking to our panelists. As the ambassador mentioned, and I think illustrated quite beautifully already, the topic of today's conversation is the relevance of German for career opportunities in South Africa. He's given us a lot of things already to talk about, and we are going to drill down into some of those in more detail. So thank you so much also from my side to the Goethe-Institut for bringing us all together to have this conversation, especially you, Dr. Amanda de Beer. And of course, thank you to Ambassador Peschke for setting the scene for us. The purpose today of this conversation in the next hour or so is really twofold. The first thing, not surprising, we want to highlight and talk about the relevance. Why is German relevant for career opportunities in South Africa? But then we also want to start exploring synergies and cooperation potential between all the different stakeholders, and many of them have already been mentioned, particularly education institutions, the private sector, and government, because they are also represented here by our panelists. So we're going to start off with a panel discussion that I will moderate, and then we will have some time for engagement with the audience, hopefully about 20 minutes or so, depending on how things go. I will be the timekeeper, and because I'm German, I'm going to do a really good job. Let me start with a very brief introduction of our panelists. I'm not going to read their bios. We're really here to talk and use the time for our podium discussion. You will have seen their short bios in the flyers that were sent to advertise this event, and if you're very interested, I think you can talk to them. But we will also find out a little bit more about their backgrounds anyway. So let me start on my very left with Ms. Charity Kanyane. She is an educational psychologist, and she works in the career development services at both the Department of Basic Education and the Department of Higher Education. Welcome, Charity. Next to Charity, we have Mr. Yves Nono, who is the president of Bosch Automotive Aftermarket and responsible for the Africa region. Welcome. And last but not least, to my very left is Mr. Zola Mkumla, who is the managing director of Ziduli Capital. But as the ambassador already highlighted, he also has another connection to a German school in South Africa that he's going to tell us a little bit more about in a moment. Welcome, Zola. I would like to kick us all off with an easy question. And I will ask our panelists to say, why have you been invited to come and speak on this topic? What brings you here today? What role does German play in your lives? And to make it easy for you, I'm going to kick us off a little bit and talk about myself, just for a moment, so that you also understand why I am here. I'm of German and Sudanese descent. I was born, raised, and educated in Germany, but I've lived and worked in South Africa for 20 years. And German is my mother tongue. That's why I agree with Ambassador Peschke. Very easy language to learn, especially when you start very young. And perhaps for the topic today, it's also relevant to let you know that I am connected in a particular way to one of those German international schools that we have in South Africa, and that's the fantastic school here in Johannesburg, where I serve as the chair of the board. Now, having said that, I'm going to hand over to you, and I'm going to ask Zola to kick us off. Zola, what brings you here? What's your connection to German and the topic of today?
Thank you very much. I find it very difficult when a man like Mr. Ambassador has started off so well and pretty much taken most of the information we were going to share about the importance of German. Mine is a story of politics in South Africa and Germany. So not born in Germany, but the German government in the late 80s, mid-late 80s, had decided that it was going to take a stand against apartheid. And so what they decided to do as part of their contribution towards dismantling it was recruiting black children into former white schools, in that way making a statement. And Deutsche Schule Hermannsburg is a private school, so the government naturally didn't have a say in what the German government was going to do with that. So a lovely gentleman by the name of Mr. Allendorf recruited me from the township in the 90s. I'm going to give my age away, 1992. So I started learning German from the age of 13, 2014. And I must agree with you and the ambassador, it's much easier to start when you're younger, to learn the German language, because when you've already taught yourself Zulu and Sotho and all these other languages before, understanding das and die and der as the one word of saying the makes it a bit difficult. But I couldn't agree more. So I've had a great journey since then, where I was able to spend time in Heidelberg University, a beautiful town again in Germany, and did an internship with BASF, who I see are here today as well, in Ludwigshafen. And that also, because of my understanding of the German language and having had the opportunities of going to Deutsche Schule Hermannsburg, I was able to get these opportunities to work in Germany, and then BASF here in South Africa. Naturally, like the ambassador said, Germany is the biggest economy in Europe by far, and you want to basically differentiate yourself in this competitive market that we have these days. So just knowing English alone, I don't think is going to really get you ahead. But learning a language like Germany will definitely give you that edge, with opportunities to work overseas and even here locally for German companies. You're really going to have to do a good job in slowing me down today, because I will probably go over the time limit more often than not.
Thank you very much. We'll give you a little bit more time later on. But now we actually have someone who represents one of those German companies in South Africa. Yves, over to you. What brings you here? What informs your perspectives?
Thank you, Samia. First of all, good afternoon, all guests and distinguished and His Excellence. It's a pleasure, a privilege for me to be here. Yves Nono. I was born in Cameroon and grew up in Cameroon, and moved to Germany after completing the high school. So why I'm here today is, yes, as a representative of the company Bosch, but I also have a very, I would say, close relationship to the Goethe-Institut, because after my high school, I started then to learn Germany in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, when it was clear that I aimed to study in Germany. So the Goethe-Institut was for me, I will say, the touch point and the language to Germany. So I was fortunate to visit the Dutch Institute to attend the classes. And surprisingly also, after completing the classes in Yaoundé, I had a very big surprise, because I used to struggle with the language. And I will say, not the same experience as Andreas, as he mentioned, but I used to struggle in language, and I was not so confident. But when we had the result about the exam we have to pass to able to study in Germany, surprisingly, I was the best one. I don't know why, but they had assessed the grammatic, the vocal, the hearing. There was a test, a protocol test, and I was fortunate to get a scholarship at the Goethe-Institut for 3 months, and it was amazing. So this means this completely changed my experience with the German language and also with Germany. In Chiemsee, I spent 3 months there, all inclusive from the Goethe-Institut, finance, And then after that, I had to go back to the real life, this means to study. So I studied in Germany. I lived for about 13 years in Germany because after my study, I was fortunate to join a fantastic company where I'm still here today, which is Bosch, who is the leading company in the field of automotive. So I worked for about 7 years with Bosch in Germany. And after that, I was appointed in the US, still with the same company. In the US, the German company, where in the US I met my wife. And this is where my next touch point to the German language and culture thing. She was not working with Bosch, but she was also in the US, and she's German. So, and after 6.5 years spent in Germany, I was appointed here in South Africa 5 years ago to lead our automotive aftermarket business. So, long short, if you look at me, if I have described myself, I would tell you I'm a German engineer, right? And I'm a German product as well, because I think that studying in Germany, studying the language in the language in Germany shape the way you think, the way you take decision, the way you approach problem. And I truly believe that through the language, you get also an understanding on the culture and the way of doing things. Yeah. So I highly encourage everyone which is maybe hesitating to expose himself with this language or with German as well. It's a fantastic experience.
Thank you very much, Yves, for sharing that. So we've had two perspectives now that really robe personal and professional perspectives together. I'd like to hand over now at this point to Charity and speak from the perspective of the departments that you work in, and tell us why is German so important in the context of career development services.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. My name is Charity Kanyane, and I represent the Department of Basic Education, and all the young South Africans like Zola in the townships and the unemployed youth who are seeking opportunities to say German is the way to go. What better way to show interest, to demonstrate interest in the learning about the language and culture of German, and also to invest in learning the language. Career development services is about provision of career information, advice, and guidance so that our young people can make informed career decisions. And with over 600 companies, as we have heard, there are quite a number of career opportunities for our young people. Multinational companies seek to employ multilingual young people who can, seamlessly communicate, interact with colleagues, with clients in the said industries. So it's important that our young people get exposure to the language for trade reasons, for travel and tourism, for future career opportunities. And I'm also here, in fact, I've been invited also to forge partnerships and establish relations with not only German, but all other multinational countries, nations that are here, so that we can collaborate and ensure that we complement one another in ensuring that our young people are groomed to be active, productive citizens who can contribute to the economy of our country. What better way than to learn German? I thank you.
Oh, this almost sounds like we should end the conversation here. I think this is a fantastic message. that we could have as a parting message. Thank you so much, Charity. Thank you to all three of you for really illustrating what brings you here. And I think you can see that it's a wonderfully diverse panel in terms of the different backgrounds and experiences that are represented here. So before we go, Charity, to that point to kind of like start digging a little bit deeper into what kind of partnerships and collaborations are possible, I want to just come back and perhaps ask you, what do you think is the essence of the value of German for career opportunities? We kind of like touched on a lot of these already. Some were connected to language and culture. We spoke about the economy. We spoke about politics. We spoke about the national and international dimensions. If you had to kind of like bring it down to a sentence or maybe two, Zola, for you, what would you say is the value of German? Is there something that you can, capture that in a few words?
You're really putting me on the spot. A few words. I think the value comes right there, where you have the biggest economy in Europe on a practical side, like the ambassador was saying, that is German speaking, and when you include Switzerland and neighboring countries, the number is even more. So in a few words, I would say there's no better way of getting yourself ahead. I mean, if I've had the privilege to listen to the ambassador a few times now, and there's no way to speak to someone's heart and to get to someone's soul like speaking in their language. And I think it's probably the best way to sum it up is by learning the language, you put yourself ahead, you get to the soul of the German culture and the German people, German employers. I think that's probably the best way to sum it.
Thank you. Yves, do you agree?
Couldn't agree more, Zola. I couldn't agree more, and now I'm a little bit speechless because this is exactly the same what I wanted to share. But I would like to elaborate on the opportunities. Maybe when we talk about the value of the language, it sounds a little bit strange, right? We're in South Africa and we talk about the value of the German language, and that's why for me it's important that we pause and we talk about what is mean. With 600 German company on the country, with Germany being the third biggest tourist source, and if we look at the agenda of the government for the next decades in South Africa, and the focus area they have, which are automotive, which are energy, which are safety, and all those, and then we have Germany as a country who is excel in all those areas. And I think that the opportunity go behind even the status quo of 600 and being what we have today, right? So I think that it's really important to look at in a bigger perspective. And I also think that it's not only about the language itself, but it's also about what is mean for yourself as a person, right? There's also a value, because once you learn a language, nobody can take it from you. You have it, right? It's not like a car. A car, you can have an accident, it's gone. The language stays forever. And it is beautiful if you get familiar with the language, and because through the language, it also helps you to understand the people who speak this language. Because through the language, like I mentioned before, you have also the culture.
Yeah, I think we touched on that. Ambassador Peschke mentioned that, of course, the person that gave the Goethe-Institut its name and all that work, is something that you can discover and read perhaps in the original. Charity, I'd like to give you a chance to also add on to that if you want to, but also then please get us started on the next question that we wanted to look at, and that is really digging a little bit deeper into the synergies that we see and particularly the partnerships that we hope to see. And I know, of course, at the department, both basic education and higher education and training, you have some very clear ideas about what kind of partnerships you would like to see between government, and the private sector, and of course education institutions and cultural institutions. So please kick us off with your reflections on that.
Thank you. One of our key priorities as a government, as a Department of Education, is to ensure that our young people don't reach a dead end post-schooling, post-basic schooling. And we already engaged in one program called Education for Employment, which is EU funded. We collaborating with the Department of Higher Education and Training and the Department of Employment and Labor in that program, because we want to ensure a smooth transition from the basic schooling sector through to the post-school sector and the world of work. So the synergy we're talking about tend to kind of push us to ensure that we get opportunities for our young people, learners and students, and those outside of education and training, our NEET group, to can explore and take advantage of opportunities that exist out there. For example, we all know of the skills mismatch in our country. We want to robustly go into challenging the skills development shortages of our country. And of course, we've been talking about how Germany is leading in terms of the travel and tourism, the technical, the automotives, so that provide an answer to us as a department to foster this relationship so that we can ensure that our young people access the multiple opportunities that are out there.
Thank you very much, Charity. I think you've painted the broader, bigger picture. I'd like the two gentlemen on the panel to kind of like see, what does this mean in very practical terms? Yves, I'm going to start with you as a representative of one of those companies that, we have referenced a number of times now to say that there are over 600 companies here in South Africa. Bosch certainly represents one of those. Is this something that is possible? Is it perhaps already happening? What kind of very practical relationships between the private sector and government can we see?
Yes, indeed, there are already relation and activity or project in place where the public and the private sector are interacting and aiming to leverage the impact of the private sector for the benefit of the young South African. And if I'm thinking about the business I'm responsible for, which is the automotive aftermarket, we do, if you think about that and you see what is happening today in the car, just for 1 minute. You see that today cars cannot be repaired without software. It is not longer the way that I can just park the car below the mango tree and I start to open and try to do it. So there's certain different skills are required. And in specific, we are bringing those skills to the country, and we are bringing those skills not only to the people we employ, but also to your young mechanics, but also to some vocational student. So we do have, for instance, today already in Midrand in our office, a training areas where we do support young South African in the field of training. Some of them can be retained, some of them cannot be retained because we cannot absorb them. We are also taking part of the Yes for Young program, what we have in place in the country. And we also have additional activity where we, together with the public sector, put some program and agree on the scheme of the program. Some of them are just for a couple of months, some of them are even for 2 years, where we really jointly take young South African and, or I would say professional or graduate, and develop them in order to bring them to the next level. And some of them, I can say, we can absorb, some of them we cannot absorb, but we are always happy if we hear that they have even to leave us sooner because they have been absorbed due to the exposure and the experience.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's probably something where Charity would say it's wonderful that this exists. We need to scale it up. We need more and more and more of these kind of opportunities for more people. Zola, what is your perspective? And perhaps you want to tell us a little bit more about your involvement with the school in Hermannsburg, if I can call it that, because you did not only go to the school. Yeah.
Yes, though in 2015, Hermannsburg still used to get funding from the German government, and I think there was a focus to look at more the international schools. And unfortunately, Hermannsburg, as the ambassador knows, is in the middle of nowhere, and we can't bring in the numbers that you will find in Deutsche Schule in Johannesburg and Pretoria and so forth. So we can't really have enough of a class to teach the German curriculum, which you can do at the bigger schools. But we're still obviously looking at the embassy for assistance and support now and again when the time is right. But in 2015, the funding went out, and in 2019, the school was going to close. I happened to be selling a business at that time that was the way I was able to then finance the school. And we've been going for about 4 years now, and seen quite a lot of growth. And as a matter of fact, I was saying to my lovely wife that we opening our junior boys hostel for the first time in 13 years because of the growth that we've had. And a lot of it has to do with the need for parents to prioritize education. I mean, it's become one of those things in this country that I think is highly contested. And when we're doing our preparation meeting, I remember saying to Charity that without collaboration, I think we will be letting our children down. The amount of pressure that the education system is under right now is hard to explain. You know, it's left us in a situation where our goals as a country will not be met purely because we haven't got an education right. So this private-public partnership, I think, is something that's going to be critical if we were to turn things around, especially in our public schooling space. So it's great that we fostering these relationships, but I think a lot more needs to be done.
Yeah, thank you very much. Charity, you would like to add to that?
Please, thank you. I just want to add in terms of the practical initiatives that we can collaborate on. As a Department of Basic Education, we're moving from the academic stream to also encourage what we call the three-stream model, to add the vocational and the occupational stream, because that's basically what the country needs in terms of skills development. So I would like to just call upon industries that are here, institutions of higher learning that are here, to say, please, open your doors, because gone are the days where we have to focus on the 100% academic kind of orientation. We need to, like Germany, have the 60-40, both theoretical and the practical part. So we're going to need your cooperation, your, commitment in absorbing or affording our learners the opportunities for internships, for learnerships, for on-the-job training, for job shadowing. We've got various campaigns, one of which I'll also like to extend the invitation to you. It's what we call the National Career Week. It takes place in around May, and the 2024 one. We're urging you to please also take part to conscientize the nation and make your contribution in terms of career development for the young ones. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Charity. Now you've given us so many concrete things that we can look at. And I know there is an audience that is also diverse and represents different institutions, schools, universities, companies. I don't know, Amanda, if there's someone here from the German Chamber, but I think that would be a really, really important partner for us to bring in to kind of like have that multiplier effect and not only talk to one company at a time, but perhaps really to create a platform for all of them. I would like at this point now really to open up this conversation and to give the audience a chance to engage the panelists. Please feel free if you have something to add in terms of an experience, in terms of a model that you are aware of, that you would like to share that relates to the things that we have discussed, please feel free to do that. If you have a follow-up question for one of the panelists, then please tell us exactly who you are addressing. If it is for everybody, then we're going to see who grabs it first. And we have two roaming mics, I think. So please just stand up, perhaps briefly say who you are, and then give us your comment or your question. Okay, we're going to have to share some of our mics. There we are. And then please, if you, like I said, if you have a question and you want to address it to a particular panelist, then please do that. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 comments or questions at a time, and then see how many rounds we can do. Sir, kick us off.
Thank you very much. I'm Sabelo Butilezi. I'm representing the Department of Higher Education and Training. For us, I think the relationship with the Germans is quite a very passionate relationship, because if you look on our skills development, not just that, I was a bit challenged when His Excellency spoke my mother tongue is Zulu. So, but as I'm passionate about the vocational education and training, and our skills development, since we started in '98, we've been basically sponsored by the Germans through the GIZ. And a number of, I can't count, if I can count, a number of projects that we do with Germans. There are so many. Current and a number of those that have passed through our vocational education and training. Our skills development, it's just that we have coined it and converted it into English, but it's another side of the same coin with what's happening in Germany in terms of our dual system apprentice, which we are currently implementing in our vocational education and training. So there are quite a number of projects that one can list that are talking to our partnership with Germans. So we always work with the Germans through the GIZ. Thank you very much.
Can I just ask a follow-up question to that? And thank you for sharing that comment. But we are also here to not only recognize what already exists, but also to say, are there gaps? Are there other things that we can do? Or are there just things that we need to do more of? So from your experience and from your perspective, is there something that you think, we should really focus our attention on doing something differently or doing something new or adding on to everything that's already in existence?
With us from the Department of Higher Education and Training, we always have a long-term relationship. Like current project and going forward, one might know the green hydrogen roadmap that the minister launched. We are currently busy implementing those projects, but there are also others that are in the pipeline that are talking to just energy transition, where we are working with Germans in terms of saying, how can we move away from only relying on your coal as a source of energy, but using whether it's solar, whether it's using wind energy. And there are a number of those ones that we are currently doing in Mpumalanga. But we are also doing a lot of our lecturer development from TVET colleges to universities, partnering And there are a number of also partnership that we are doing through our sector of education and training authorities, which are institutions that are responsible for skills development in the country.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's so important. I'm going to give it to the audience to say that, you know, we really, and we have represented it here today, that we need to look at education in terms of a lifelong endeavor, you know, that starts in early childhood development and then, of course, from basic education, secondary education, higher education, and, of course, also TVET and the CETAs and all the players in that field. Is there someone else who would like to ask a question or share a comment? Yes, I see someone there right in the back. Please, if you are sitting. Yes, that's wonderful, ma'am, so that we can see you.
My name is Desiree Lutswiti. I'm the Chief Education Specialist based at the Department of Basic Education, responsible for all the electrical technology as well as the mechanical technology subjects. So in essence, I would like to add to and also echo the sentiments that Ms. Charity has spoken to, especially on the three streams model. As I went through the different tables, I realized that in most of the endeavors that are already happening are sort of centered around the TVET colleges. And as Charity has explained, we are having what we call the occupational stream. You will essentially remember that learners who are in the so-called special schools, who are also offering some of these vocational related subjects, you know, within the past 4 or 5 years, when they were at 16 years of age, they like reached the dead end, they left school with no certification and nothing. And when you still look at opportunities that are available, like now for your work-based programs, those learners that come from the School of Skills, you know, are still not accommodated. And listening and hearing that one of our panelists is from an automotive sector, I'm sort of now challenging and encouraging you that as much as you are doing something for learners of people who are in the mainstream, let us not forget those learners that come from the School of Skills that are also doing motor mechanics as a subject. Learnerships could also be provided for them where they could come and train and become assistants motor mechanics. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that comment. Before we open the next round, I'm going to give Charity an opportunity to respond, and then the other panelists as well, and then we'll take the next round of comments and questions. Okay, Charity?
Thank you. I just wanted to link to what Sabelo has said with regards to teacher development, which I see as a gap that in spite of all the wonderful initiatives that we have, both the DBE and the DHET, the Higher Education and Training Institution, I think we need to encourage institutions of higher learning to also teach German. If we're going to want to benefit and work with the companies, we really have to be able to express ourselves in the language they understand best, just to promote that communication and leverage on our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that will be music in the ears of some people in our audience, especially those who headed German departments at universities. And of course, here in Johannesburg, we are quite fortunate because we have both Wits University and UJ, where German is taught. But Yves.
Yes, thank you very much for the comment and the message. The message is received. I just wanted to highlight also the fact that our collaboration with the public sector, yes, is multi-lane. It's not limited to the graduate. Yes, we are happy to bring a little bit more focus in this part of the you call it not vocational, but you call it skill.
The three-stream model.
Yeah, the three-stream model. We have a full dedicated expert, and I think that Christine Opoko, she worked with Bosch, and she's specifically looking with the public sector and the education, how our value proposition fit to the needs of the young South African. And based on that, usually we design those programs what we have. I'm happy that Christine is here. I don't know if, Christine, you want to add something to what has been said.
Of course, good afternoon, and thanks very much, Yves. Indeed, we cater for those programs. Currently, we have published the Youth Employment Service Initiative, so those opportunities are available. The apprenticeship program, learnerships for matriculants who did not get opportunity to go to universities. We have, and the vocational training programs, so we've clubbed together with the German Chamber, and we are offering logistics, learnership program, the mechatronics, and all trades that has to do with apprenticeship, your millwright trades, your mechatronics, and I can code a lot. So yes, the industry has opened. Where we see we lack, and I would like to request more companies to please open doors, is when it comes to work integrated learning. Our TVET college students require on-the-job practicals, colleagues. So we are calling out for companies to assist Bosch as well and offer on-the-job training to the students. I thank you. Thanks, Yves.
Thank you so much. I think those are very, very important points. And thanks for calling everyone. I hope that somebody listened and actually represent some of those other companies and can come on board and increase their efforts in that regard. We're going to have time for another round of questions or comments. I see one hand here in the third row. Please, if you can move the micro. Oh, you're already extremely well prepared. Well, then, off you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am an educator. I'm a German teacher. And I want to focus on what the lady, my colleague in the education department said about the gap. I can't agree more. They have spoken about the three-stream model and the National Career Week and internships at companies. But the one missing link is not only should learners start learning German in higher education, they should actually start learning it at school level. I am from a region, the Southern Cape, where there are many tourists, but at the moment there are not many schools that offer German. And as a German educator, I have been one up until 2013. And the learners that I have taught, they have reached great successes. But unfortunately, I had to stop. And actually, it's tragic that the school learners need these opportunities. It's mainly private schools or former Model C schools where German is taught at the moment. And I think there are many learners who need these opportunities, and that from the education department that maybe schools should really offer that subject again.
Thank you very much. Oh, yes, definitely. Now I can hear it as well. Yes, ma'am.
All right. I want to absolutely agree with you. I taught German for 17 years at a school, and after 17 years, they informed me that they would now phase out German. So we are seeing that more and more that teachers have to stop, because there is no German that is presented at the schools anymore. It's everywhere in the schools that people are starting to close and phase out German. Privately, it doesn't matter whether it's private or not. So we are relying very heavily on the German schools, for example. My question is practically, is it possible for the companies, for the basic education, to go to the heads of the school? You are focusing on the, for me, you are focusing on the kids, agreed. But if the people don't know, the heads, the directors, they don't know the value of this. They don't know that there are 600 companies. You as a teacher can talk till you're blue in the face. It makes no difference whatsoever. So my question is, please, can you put in an effort to talk to those who are in charge, whether it be from the department or from the 600 companies?
Thank you very much. Charity, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, please, thank you. We are listening and will definitely take the message forth to those in charge. But let me also appeal to higher ed. For us to have German as a language taught in our schools, we need universities to prepare the teachers who will then teach the language. So we have to do it together. We cannot, only as a Department of Education, do that without competent, qualified teachers who comes from higher ed. In the meantime, we can make use of our teachers, our lecturers in TVET colleges, for example, our teachers in technical schools, to expose them to I believe there is this diploma and various levels of learning the language. We can start there, but ultimately higher ed should come on board. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I think there is a suggestion for a follow-up conversation that we need to have, that perhaps, and I'm looking at you, Ambassador Peschke, because the embassy, of course, has the opportunity to convene a meeting that brings all of these parties that we are talking about together. But of course, the Goethe-Institut is one of those institutions that could also help with the teaching. And I know that there are many programs and engagements and initiatives that you already have in any case, but perhaps you want to also have an opportunity to talk a little bit about that later. We have just a few minutes left before I want to bring it back to the panel for our final reflections. So is there anyone else in the audience who has a comment? I see there is a gentleman raising his hand there, and then maybe, yes, you as well, and then we're going to close. You first. Excellent.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here as a parent today. I was Charity, so please don't out me. So I'm going to ask a question as a parent. I'm here with my daughter. And the issue really for us is the pathway. And I'm speaking from a privileged position that I know people that I can call. But when I speak to her and I speak for her peers, if you want to follow perhaps a journey that you have followed to be able to go to a German school that exposes you to German institutes, that exposes you to work for Bosch, it is not easy for anyone to know where do I press a button and actually get all the information. And again, I think I speak to the Department of Basic Education and Higher Education to say, if I can qualify to go to UP, chances are I know where to find the opportunities. But let's speak a little bit to learners and students that are more below the 60% mark. Because I think in terms of employability as a country, that is where we need to unlock opportunities. Germany is one of the countries that is very good in the TVET sector. And we are saying for our learners that are performing below those that qualify for UP, that can afford to go to VET or afford to go to UJ and be exposed to the German language and the German opportunities. Can we ask you, Bosch, to get a little bit out of the office, to reach them where they are? Can we have these conversations where these learners are? Can I just appeal for that? Makanyane knows I'm one of those people in every meeting where I'm saying, let's get uncomfortable, let's get out of the city, let's go and reach the learners where they are.
Thank you very much. And then there's a gentleman in the back. That's going to be our last one.
Okay, thank you. My name is Trevor, actually. Fortunately, I also had time to live a bit in Germany. So with that context, I just want to base my question perhaps to Mom Charity and also to Bosch as well, or even other companies. It's, if ever we can recall years back that we used to have the apprenticeship program. I'm glad that Ubaba, he also mentioned it, which now has been replaced by the internships. But we know the truth that it doesn't really prepare much for youth, actually, for youngsters, because they will do it for a year, and then after they get dumped out, sorry to use that word, and then they go back to square zero. But then what we need is just perhaps a solid foundation, and we've already touched to it. There are FET colleges, actually, which in Germany, they will have a dual system when they're doing an apprenticeship program. Let's say one reached a level of grade 10, and then they will be getting a training, theoretically, and then at the same time, they also have time to work at the company where they will get hands-on. I'm sure from Bosch, they know exactly what I'm referring to. Is there any way, because this will touch on the policy issues, that on the government of the higher education, that at least you can at least try to look at that? And fortunately, we are very fortunate here in South Africa that in Germany is definitely practice, that you can, on your partnership, you can look at also working with the FETs to try to work on that, just to work on the issues of skills, because yes, you can get theory, but then what else? You can get an internship. What else? We know the real issue. So that was my question. Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much. I think you brought another very important aspect into it. I'm personally a big fan of the dual studies system in Germany. That goes beyond the apprenticeship system in the sense that it is a collaboration between a company and an institution of higher learning that brings students through a process that involves 3 months of teaching and 3 months of working and 3 months of teaching until they get their degree, and they almost have 3 years of work experience as well and get absorbed almost to 100%, I think, by their companies where they are based. So I think that's another model that perhaps we can look at. And perhaps just as an add-on to the language question, the lady who was joining us from the Western Cape, I think you said, you're in, what you said, I think, about the importance of learning languages at school, of course, also, I think, creates opportunities not only for career development, but also for entrepreneurship, because that's one of the things that we actually haven't had the chance to touch on today, but we, of course, also know with our unemployment figures in the country that creating career opportunities is one thing, but creating opportunities for young people to set up and start their own businesses, particularly in sectors like the tourism industry that we talked about, I think is also really important. So thank you very much for the comments and questions. I would like to end us off with a last round, and you will all have an opportunity to perhaps touch on some of the things that came up, but please just share your final reflections now for us in terms of what is your main takeaway from this discussion today. Is there something very concrete that emerged to you as a gap or an opportunity that we can work together? Because we would like to leave here today with the idea that there is so much more that we can do, and that this is just the beginning of a conversation of all of us coming together in this way. And so if you have any concrete suggestions that you would like to share, then I will invite you to do that now. And we're going to go in the order and start with you, Yves.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for all the inputs and remarks. As a closing words, I would like to touch on some of the topic which has been mentioned and emphasize the willingness of the private sector. I'm speaking on behalf of Bosch and obviously the other 599 companies which are in this country, that there is a willingness to get to the table and to contribute more. I also see that there is a political also willingness definitively to move the needle. I'm happy that the Goethe-Institut took the lead to spark this discussion, and I think that there are other important stakeholders. We can really play a role in orchestrating and continue this discussion what we have started today, because you shouldn't stop there. We see that there are opportunities to bring more practicability. We talk about dual school, and in Germany, just for your information, on a personal note, this can be very successful as well. I know somebody personally, we do this dual school, and who was leading a company here in South Africa for Sub-Sahara after this, completing this dual school. And this is my wife, Andrea, right, MTU. And she came here 20 years ago, and she was in dual school, 3 months company, 3 months, university, right? And so they are the opportunity there. There are opportunity there. I will encourage everyone who can contribute. Charity was very clear about that. It's about doing that together. It's about continuing what we have started today, walk the talk. And I look forward to what comes next. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Zola, over to you.
Thank you very much, and for the opportunity. Thank you, Doc, for arranging everything. I think to the question from the parent, what we do need to do is make it accessible. I think that, I know when I was starting off after school, there was an institution that was under the auspices of the German Chamber of Commerce called CAT, which was essentially a multitude of these German companies that afforded young students, mostly underprivileged, who were just out of school, the opportunity to get the theoretical and the practical side of things. So you did, in this case, use 1 day of theory, 4 days of practical. I was fortunate to be at a company called BASF in Midrand. And this is how you kind of bridge this the gentleman at the back was saying about getting the theory but not having the practicals. And we have a very high unemployment of youth, obviously, in this country. And this is one way to do it, is providing the practical side of it through these internships. I'm not sure where this is now with the German Chamber of Commerce, the CATS program, but I know it certainly played a big role in my life. So as a parting statement, I think that's probably where I'll leave it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Charity, over to you.
Thank you. I'm tempted to just say 2 words and close there. Stronger together. Behind me, I think my banner says it all. Education is a societal issue. We've got to join hands, and we've got to collaborate, cooperate, and ensure that we all have a South Africa that we envision. We really need to make sure that we be the change that we all want to see. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We didn't discuss that, Charity, but Stronger Together is also the hashtag of the German International School in Johannesburg. So we are on board for this initiative and the Springboks. And I think we can all find something that will get us so excited. So it's my task now to really close us out. I'd like to start by thanking my 3 wonderful panelists for sharing your time, your experiences, your insights so generously with us today, and by also giving us some concrete things to think about and to really now walk away into our respective spaces and hopefully come back. And as you said, hopefully this was only just the beginning. So please join me in giving a round of applause to our panelists. Then I would like to thank you, the audience, for coming, for spending time with us here on a Saturday, for listening so carefully, for participating, for sharing your perspectives, for asking your questions, making your comments. Thank you so much. A round of applause to you as well. And then I would like to hand over back to our hosts. Thank you so much for bringing us all together. I think we've all said it, how much we appreciated being here today. And we would like to give a warm round of applause to the Goethe-Institut in general, but particularly to Dr. Amanda de Beer for organizing this event. And this is where I hand over to her. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Also from the Goethe-Institut, we have something that we would like to also hand over to our panelists and moderator as a thank you. just give it to you like that. And to Yves. Zola. And lastly, but not least, Samia. And as the Goethe-Institut, we agree with the final message. We need to sit together and collaborate next year. And we promise we will plan something, a workshop, a follow-up with all the stakeholders. Now, we would like to open the buffet. It's here on our left side, where the friendly Goethe staff members are standing. Please join us for a glass of wine or a glass of juice and some lovely food. Thank you.